Fancy some free beers this Christmas? Of course you do. You're in luck because it's Beer 52 award season where they showcase the very best of the independent craft breweries from across the world with 8 new and exclusive beers that you will not find anywhere else. And all you have to do is go to beer52.com/truegeordie. You'll have to pay the $5.95 postage, but that's it, and they will send you a free case of 8 incredible beers. You'll find out about beers you'd never even heard of before, and all of a sudden, they're your favourite. Get rid of that old, lazy, all too comfortable, doesn't do what it used to do for your beer, yeah? And get that new beer in your life. Take, for example, Omnipolo's Outer Galactic. Oh, it always sounds great. And I tell you what, it smells unreal. Oh, smooth. Alright, we've started something. And if you don't like dark beer, you can choose a light case, and you can also add in a couple of tasty snacks, which is good. And also, it comes with this Ferment magazine, which tells you everything you need to know about the brewery, what goes into the beer, and all of the history of it. Pretty cool. And after all that, if you've changed your mind for any reason, you can pause or cancel at any time. So go to beer52.com/truegeordie. That's beer52.com/truegeordie to get your free case of beer now. That's a bit too nice. Bit Moorish. I'm going to try this one now. Well, I bloody love all of them, so I'll crack on with that once this is all wrapped up. Alright, welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. I am joined by Joey Knight, Lawrence Oswecki, and the undefeated podcast lads.
Let's go!
Come on. We're going to talk today first about AJ versus Deontay Wilder. Obviously, that's not happening yet. They are fighting different opponents in December. First thoughts on when that was announced. Pissed off, happy, what we saying?
Pissed off, man. Pissed off. It's the time now. Like, these guys ain't getting younger, man. We're deep in our 30s. Everyone's deep in their 30s. I'm like, we've been following this story for so long at this point. Like, if you announced it, it would sell. It would do the numbers. But there's a part of me in a weird way that does understand why this doesn't happen next. I feel like the stock on both of these guys' names is in the mud right now.
We've been robbed again.
If you think about timings, though, like, it actually sort of does make sense, because if the master plan here is for the winner of Wilder and AJ to fight the winner of Fury and Usyk, well, we straight away know that the Fury Usyk 2-fight deal. So, say for example, the first fight is in March. Yeah, first fight's in February. That means they're going to get 2 fights at a push this year. The next one will be in November or something like that. Yeah. So let's say, for example, AJ and Wilder fight on this card, right? Straight away, then for a whole year, the winner, if there's no rematch between those two guys, has got to sit out and wait around for Fury. Now, if you're Anthony Joshua, we're seeing at the moment, compared to a lot of heavyweights, he's being really active and he's keeping active. Wilder doesn't mind it. Wilder will sit out for a year and he'll wait about. But there's also the possibility, like, let's not write off the possibility, if the score's 1-1 at the end, you could even see a trilogy fight between Fury and Usyk. So what I'm saying is, it might be counterintuitive the way the Saudis are thinking when they're thinking, you know, we're going to get it eventually. It might be counterintuitive to let them fight now and then have them go stale and wait round for a year.
I just think it's crazy because this isn't like two new prospects, you know, get to this stage in the career where, you know, it's time for the big fights. This has been in the making for, like, was it 5+ years?
4 to 5. More than 5.
In boxing, you've got a very small window for when fighters are at the absolute peak. And let's face it, both guys are potentially past the best. Joshua's had his defeats and what have you, and they're both, like, mentally, I know he's trying to give this character that he's like all business now, but deep down I think he's still not as confident as he needs to be. I think the reason that he's putting it off is because he's trying to rebuild himself mentally.
Who do you think's putting off?
I think Joshua.
I think one of the things I heard on, you know, from people I know in the know, said that when they were told 6 weeks to be ready for Wilder, that's short time for a fight that dangerous.
But it's sort of not 6 weeks.
Do you know what it is?
It's sort of not 6 weeks, because we've just said it's been in the making for so many years. And as someone with a sort of boxing mindset, you look at things and you're like, right, that's a collision course there.
If you're talking
at the same time, you want a full camp.
Yeah, but you're talking about world level fighting. Yeah. These are meant to be like professionals, so you're meant to be always ready. And if you can't, like, if you look at Wilder's style, he's not the most technical guy. He's got one main weapon, and that's he can close the distance very quickly with that big backhand. So, like, realistically, how long do you need to really train for that style? I just feel as if 6 weeks, he's got all the money and all the resources in the world to bring every sparring partner he could.
That's not to be. So wait, are we saying it's a duck?
No, that's not really.
That's what I'm kind of hearing right now.
In the grand schemes, I don't think it will prove to be a duck, but in the short term, I think ducks are sort of discouraging word.
Sensationalized word.
It's a strong word, isn't it?
It is.
But it's not right now.
This is
it's not right now.
That's whoa. I wanted to know where we are.
Guys, let's go. We're doing silly things. 6 weeks for the fight that's going to define your career. Let's have it right. These guys, when they fight, AJ, Wilder, and Fury, Usyk, yeah, but also not so much. When those three fight each other, that is going to define their career. AJ and Wilder, that fight has been. Well, if he knocks out Wilder, we won't even be mad that he lost to Usyk twice.
AJ fought Helenius on August the 11th. Mm-hmm. The first thing that was spoke about after that fight was no more fights. Wilder next. So 6 weeks. That's like like my missus saying to me, "We're going out Saturday night," and then going, "You're going to be ready half hour before," and going, "You've only given me half an hour notice." She's told me all week we're going out. You know what I mean? So, and I do that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think the 6 weeks thing's fair, because I think when you stood in a ring after August the 11th and then said that, if it then gets offered to you in the start of November, whenever it is, middle of October, you got to go, yeah, all right, it's 6 weeks till fight night, but let's have it right. I knew this was happening.
You've just nailed it there, because this is exactly all fighters, especially a fight that's been 5 years in the making. You honestly think that Otto Wallen's been the guy that he's training for? Wilder's the guy he's been training for, so I don't believe it's 6 weeks. I know it looks that way. That's since the fight got announced. But this particular fight did. But he's been preparing and training for him for a long time.
Let me ask you guys, as fighters, right, a question. Well, you're in the gym training for the possibility that a fight may happen.
You're training for that fight?
No, you're training for a possibility that they're going to phone in, someone's going to say, yeah, it's definitely on. So you're training then versus after you get that call, that level of intensity. How different is the training that you're doing?
Absolutely, you're right. It increases, but the simple fact is you should be pretty much not, like you would have had a fight date in mind, so there'll be a level of foundational fitness that you'll have, and being the athlete that you're meant to be, being a professional, you're meant to have a level of conditioning at all times. So 6 weeks should be long enough to just spike that fitness and increase the intensity.
Can we get on to the press conference and what we made?
That's what I wanted to get back to, because you know what? I think it's almost a disservice.
They were polar opposites. AJ was mean mugging. Wilder was the happiest. It was bizarre, because Wilder's different. Back in the day, Wilder was the one who was grimy and like angry all the time, and AJ was more of the professional sportsman.
Yes.
They've switched.
Yes.
Weirdly, what do we make of that?
Do you not think that's another indication? Sorry to go back on it, but that's another clear indication that it is AJ that doesn't want it, because Wilder. I personally think from a body language and from a way you're approaching something, I think that Wilder's done the sort of loudmouthing thing. And I will say one thing before I go into this: there's been times when Wilder didn't want it.
Absolutely.
Like there has been times when Wilder didn't want it. It's not, Wilder wants to fight Joshua and he's ducking him. Just so happens at this moment in time, Wilder's up for it right now, and Anthony Joshua's not up for it this second now. But I do think that the way the sort of, not altercations, I don't want to use that word, but the way they're addressing each other and the way they're speaking, Wilder's completely flipped the script in how he's approaching Anthony Joshua now. Lots of respect, saying, listen, brother, if we don't get the fight on, that's fine, but I really think we should for the fans. I feel like this is Wilder going, right, that way's not working. Let me try it.
I'm not having that. I have to say this, man. I think Wilder's done. Like, that's the honest truth. I don't think he's okay. I don't think he's okay. Like mentally, after those beatings of Fury, he's not himself. He came back wearing headphones, massive headphones, didn't want to interact with Fury at the presser before. And we're like, wait, what's going on? Those beatdowns has changed his character. And he's not been the same person that we know. Yes, in the ring, he's still very dangerous. But I'm talking about post Fury, we've seen a different version. Okay.
I'm going to say I do agree with your point in that he is being so nice to AJ as he's thinking, this is my best chance of getting this fight on. If I make you hate, you're going to do what Fury is doing to AJ, which is to not take the fight out of spite, because I just hit Amir Khan style, just don't want it right now. So I do think that there's some truth in that. Well, aside from that, what do we make of just the persona of AJ as well? We haven't really talked about that yet.
I think AJ is jaded by the whole experience that he's had as a fighter, and like the journey of like being media darling to now being the most hated motivated guy, that's got to have an effect. And what we're seeing is a reaction to that treatment. So now he's just very much like, I'm not playing by anybody's rules. Fuck the media. Fuck all of you guys. I'm not even talking to Dev Sani. You're my promoter, Eddie. Like, you ask me the questions. That's how defiant he's prepared to be at this point, because he's like, I'm not doing what you lot want me to do anymore. So I reckon that's what that response is. And as far as like the mean mugging, he's sitting around the table with all these dickheads who've been chatting shit all this time. He's thinking, if I get my hands on you, man, now, I'm taking it. I'm taking opportunity, because like Miller's over there talking. It's like, bro, you tested dirty. I was going to knock you out before. Wilder's over there now. He's on his best behavior, but he's been talking shit. Yeah. It was like a week ago before, and he was just like, man, I need to come over there and sit face to face with Joshua and make him seem. And I'm just like, all of a sudden now you're shaking hands, wishing him the best. There's a part of it, I understand you lot are saying that he might be doing the nice guy thing to guarantee the fight, but there's also a part of like, bro, you were talking shit on the internet.
It's too late.
Keep that same energy.
It's too late. It's too late to be my brethren.
Yeah.
If we one day get the chance to mix it up, Mo, don't try it. Even when he asked him, there was that part when he asked him a question, Dev asked him a question, it's like, oh, you're so messy, this, that, and the other. He does not want to engage with, I think something's wrong with Wilder. Had he beat Fury, you never would have heard him speaking like that. Yeah. You already know it's bomb squad. I'm here. This is the guy that's talking about bodies. This is here that we've heard him say a madness. He was on his best behavior. Prefect settings.
This is what always happens to the bullied, you know, the guy who's meant to be invincible, and all of a sudden he's being beaten. It's like his own identity's changed now, so like he doesn't really know who he is really.
I think they're both suffering from that a little bit.
Without doubt. But with regards to AJ, I just think, like you've said, the way the media has treated him over since 2012, becoming an Olympic gold medalist, like being the darling, like you said, to being mistreated. Basically, I've said this before. He's carried boxing, not just British boxing. I think world boxing. Yeah. Realistically, I mean, everybody knows who he is. If you look at where boxing was before 2012 when he got involved, boxing's kind of grown with him essentially. Yeah. And he's kind of sitting back thinking now he's got all the money, he's got all the success. I've had a couple of failures, and now everyone's against us. It's like, what can he do? You know what I mean?
Also, was there a little bit of, you know, my promotion has built this, and now a lot of other people are eating at the table. At the table I've set. Everyone here, and it is Queensbury, and all. There's just a lot of shit going on. But can we talk about who is more likely to slip up against either guy? Who do we feel like is the one to bet on?
Do you know what? What's going to be crazy is like, before I even answer that, if Wilder beats Parker, this would be his best win on his record.
Yeah, fuck me.
You think
Luis Ortiz won?
Are we, because of the Joyce the demolition that he did on Parker, expecting it even easier for Wilder?
I think everyone thinks that the common perception, anyone I speak to, is that AJ's fight is a lot more risky than Deontay Wilder's. And I sort of lean towards it, but I don't think the gap's that much, because I think, like, we look at Joseph Parker, right? The first thing he's going to have going on his side is he is in a gym day in, day out, with the only man to beat Wilder, and the man who had, do you know what? Multiple game plans on how to beat Wilder. He beat Wilder in 3 fights, and he beat him in 3 different... I'm not taking that draw. That was a Fury win. He beat him in 3 different ways. The last one was just, it was what it was. But he beat him with 2 different styles. So he does know Deontay Wilder inside out. Also, the other thing is, Joseph Parker, for a heavyweight, has, you know, got quite quick hands. I wouldn't say quicker than Wilder, but his feet are definitely quicker. His feet are 1,000,000% quicker than Wilder's. And then he's also coming in to the fight for once, maybe with a bit of that underdog mentality, whereas fights...
The biggest advantage is he's been far more active, right? Like he's had, 3 fights in the last 12 months?
Wilder's 39.
Yeah,
Joseph
Wilder's had 3 minutes in the last.
Parker's not beating anyone. Parker's not beating.
It's hard for me to get on side.
I can't even this one here. The fight that we're really talking about is AJ versus.
Personally, I expect Wilder to run through Parker.
I see nobody failing in this one. That's the point I'm at. I don't see AJ having any issues with Wallin.
I'm going to get labelled as an AJ hater here. I think the AJ Wallin fight isn't anywhere near as clear cut in AJ's favour as people think it is.
You know what? Yeah, have we looked at Otto Wallin since the Fury fight? Because the Fury fight has kind of set Otto Wallin's narrative in stone. Is like, he did this to Fury. He's going to be a nightmare, guys. He's not even the same guy he was when he fought Fury. Now, like, he's not looked good at all since then.
I would say though, like, if you look at him against Gassiev, right, that some people thought that was a questionable decision. I watched the fight. I thought Otto Wallin won that fight. But obviously, look, like AJ against Usyk. Wallin against Gassiev. They've obviously Usyk and Gassiev they've faced, I'm not going to say similar opponents, but they've both faced like a cruiserweight, and we've seen how they fared with it. Obviously, one being elite and one being a world champion, but nowhere near Usyk standard. And I look at Otto Wallin and I think, actually, his defense is quite good. Like, his defense is quite good for a bigger man. And the other thing as well is, Otto Wallin has been in the gym. He's fought AJ twice in the amateurs. I've only watched one of those amateur bouts. He's lost twice. It was quite a small ring in comparison to what they're boxing. I actually thought he'd done all right in the amateur bout. There's over 3 rounds. You can't buy too much into it. Yeah. But the time he spent in the gym, like, you might know better than myself. I've been told Otto Wallin's done hundreds of rounds with AJ in the gym. And I do think...
I think that's why he's smiling so much.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
and
more
I think
confident and comfortable being in that presence of AJ. He's like, you can do the faces.
But we're not in the, what do you call it? That's what I'm saying. When we switch into, when we say it's the big game now, it's like when we was talking about Josh Boatzy versus Dan Aziz, and Josh Boatzy has advantage. He's the sparring has gone a certain way. So even when we get to this main day, even when you're trying to prepare me, when you're sparring with me, you're helping me get ready for the main night. Now, guess what? You're pulling up into my territory, into my room right now, and I'm going to smash you. Like, it's not going to be anything. There's no protection.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The guy Wallin was facing was the undefeated AJ. Like, this is post Usyk, and we've seen southpaws. It's not easy, and that is a big advantage.
We say as well,
he's just done 24 rounds with Usyk.
I think
Otto Wallin isn't going to give him anything he hasn't seen before, and he's going to be a lot slower than Usyk.
I don't think to beat AJ you have to give him something he hasn't seen before.
No, but what I mean is Usyk clearly had the game plan. Like, his style is a problem for AJ. Otto Wallin is not going to be able to, 1, imitate that style, or 2, present it in a way that Usyk did. So for me, I'm like, do you
know the biggest difference for me between the previous 2 opponents, AJ's face and Wallin, is the guy believes he can win. That's the number one thing. Is against Fury, you went out there and actually thought you could win. And for me, the last 2 lads who AJ's fought, they've been in there, but they've never really went for it and thought, I can win this. The last 3 opponents, sorry. Whereas
you don't think Franklin was? I was going to say,
I think Franklin was in there to make a great account of himself, but he never went for it. Whereas I think Wallin will go for it. And I don't actually rate Wallin like you. I think he's not fast. He's not particularly strong. He's not particularly technical. I think his defense is good, like you said, but he believes he can win. And this will be like potentially the first live dog we've seen in there with AJ in a little while.
Nah, I think you're not giving Franklin the respect, man, because Franklin was hard done by that decision he got for Dillian. So now he's like, right, I'm back in, the moral side of boxing decided I would beat Dillian White, so that's why I've got the AJ fight. So he's come to actually get a real win. I don't think he came in there to roll over for AJ at all.
I don't think roll over is the word. What I mean is like, against White, he went to win, and he almost did, in fact, as we remember. I don't think he ever really stepped on it to a point of, I'm going to risk it all against AJ. So I think he remained within the guidelines of going, I want to, a bit like what AJ did with Usyk. Yeah. He never went for it. It's
like having that 100% full.
I think you're not really acknowledging how he was contained.
Yeah. Oh no, he was.
Yeah,
but when someone's containing you, you have to go for it. And
but even AJ, that's what I'm saying. Even that thing, when AJ says, "Why did you beat me?" When AJ was asking Usyk all the questions, I was better than you. Yeah, and it's in boxing, there's moments where it's like, I'm just better than you. Yeah. Like, so while when we was watching AJ fight Usyk, even Usyk one was like, "Stop doing this." Yeah. He couldn't stop doing it. Usyk controlled him. When we got into the second one, absolutely. So while we wanted more from Franklin, he just couldn't do it. Because one thing that we said about AJ that he has developed and it has got better is his boxing skill. Like, even if it's not to the levels of boxers that we would highlight, it's not amazing, but he's a better boxer now. Yeah. He's that side of his thinking. So when people are trying to get in, it's not as easy. Yes, he's still getting cuts in here and there, but I'm saying that he is a better boxer.
So one of the interesting differences between the Franklin and Helenius fight was the size. And I've personally felt in the early rounds, Helenius immediately, AJ was like, whoa, he looks massive. Big guy, and Wallen's also a big guy. And I believe he's better than Helenius. So that alone could present some...
And Helenius was using drugs, by the way. We must say that.
But for the Helenius fight, he was preparing for Dillian White. So in his camp, you had Jamie TKV, guys of a Dillian White structure. So I think that whole thing of like, oh, geez, he's bigger, was the fact of I've been in the 6'4", 6'3" size, stocky heavyweight category, and now here we are. This guy's taller than me. So I reckon it was that for the first few rounds to just kind of offset you a bit.
And Helenius wanted to do a demolition job. He tried. Yeah. Helenius came to say, "I'm going to take everything." Literally, and it started well. Like, now, I was nervous for AJ a little bit in that fight, but then I don't
know if he really believed. I think he was landing some decent shots, but I felt like it was like, oh yeah, that was all right, but that's enough for now. I think he lost. He didn't have it in him. Do you know what I mean? Like that dead ass belief.
So you think Wallin is going to fight a week before be ready?
I think Wallin just has a natural belief in himself that a lot of these fighters don't. I don't rate the guy. Like, I'm completely on board with everything you said. I think he's quite basic, but I'm interested to see how AJ deals with real belief, because in the past I think some people have been beaten by him before the ring walk.
But hold on, can I ask, why do you think Wallin has that belief?
I watched that Fury fight and I thought you had no right to be in there and really compete, and yet you still did. And to compete the way he did with Fury, and don't get me wrong, like Fury obviously blew him away in the later rounds, but he had to step on the gas. He had to, because of that cut.
But the thing is, what year was that fight?
2019, 18, something like that.
It's a quite a bit of time since that fight. Like, he's not done anything of note since. That's like made.
But I do think the Gassiev win is of note.
Okay, fine. If we're gonna give that one of note, with he's a cruiserweight essentially. It's like, but I'm talking about amongst heavyweights.
Yeah, because I think since then, he's not been given opportunities because of the trouble he gave Fury. I think that's the biggest reason why he hasn't been given opportunities. And like, what does he bring to the table, generally speaking? He's one of them who needs them guys.
Fair, I think that's a Frank Warren one where he's like, stay the fuck away.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think he was needed. I think, and going back to who's going to slip, I agree with the fact of he is a guy, regardless of, he probably now feels like it's took me this long to get an opportunity. Like, I'm going to give it 110%. And you've seen it with Fury. He doesn't fear anyone he fights. He gets in there and gives it 110%. And I just think he shared loads of rounds with Joshua. There's going to be things in his, he's going to have things in the back pocket where he might have held back a little bit in training, because like you said earlier on, when you're there to go and help another guy out, you're not there to go and win the sport. You're not the one fighting in a big fight. You're there to help the other guy to prepare. And I've been in these camps where with Joshua, I've seen the way the trainers kind of bring the sparring partners in and kind of get them to do certain things. They're not in there to go and just have fights and try and win a spar. They're in there to do a job. And when you talk about and going back to Wilder and Joseph Parker, the thing I don't like about Joseph Parker, this friendship he has with Fury, he's meant to be like a heavyweight with aspirations to become a world champion. And so should Fury be one of them guys looking to beat. And I just think if you look at his career in general, he's always one of these guys. He's got the potential. He's got quick hands. He's got good feet. He's got reasonable power. Yeah, he's not, I wouldn't say he's amazing at any one of those things, but he's quite a rounded fighter.
He's just not a killer.
And quite often towards the 10th and 11th round, you see him like step on the gas and and thinking, if he had done this in the first round or halfway through, he potentially could have won certain fights. And I just think he's always lacked a lot of like self-belief. So personally, I think going in with one of the biggest punchers out there in Wilder, I personally can't see him going in there thinking he's actually going to win the fight. We've seen it too many times where, this fight's that he potentially could win and he just hasn't done it.
But you know what? To be fair to Parker though, when he was in there with Joyce, he threw the kitchen sink at Joyce. Like, he came to go for it. He bolted
and when he was in there with Dylan White, like,
but that's the point I'm making. He done it late on.
Always.
I was always like, why didn't you switch that on earlier?
And you can't afford to do it late on with Deontay Wilder. It won't be. There's no late on.
And when it comes to Joe Joyce, fair enough. I mean, Joe Joyce is a nightmare for anyone. So and I think that's another guy he's potentially shared rounds with. So I just think, again, styles make fights. But I do think Joseph Parker, he's probably had years where he was at his peak, where he hasn't had the self-belief, and now he's probably slightly past his best. Is that self-belief going to be there?
I think Joseph Parker's in his Misfits era, just getting the money.
We'll go to a vote. Who's more likely to slip up?
AJ.
I think AJ, yeah.
None of them. Sorry.
Pick one.
Damn it. AJ.
Yeah, you got to say AJ.
Okay.
You got to say AJ.
You've got to, because when you look at, if you look at Wilder, Joseph Parker's not the biggest puncher in the division, and like I haven't really seen him troubled that much. I know there's been times where he's been rocked, but you've seen him take some shots off Fury. Whereas when it comes to Joshua, I'm not saying he's not got no chin, because he hasn't. I think he's got a decent chin. He's just been hit pretty hard off some big guys, you know what I mean? But he, generally speaking, is the most inconsistent out of the. Considering how many times he's defended, he often looks quite inconsistent with his performance, and especially at this stage in his career.
Joe Parker wasn't exactly trolling, was it?
No, it wasn't. So I just think he's the most inconsistent, and with the lack of confidence and the mental issue he's kind of got at this moment, I think he's kind of the guy probably at the slightly weaker place at this point in time.
I think it's less about, say, AJ's kind of fragilities and more about the fact that Wallen is better than Parker probably today.
That's it. That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.